Hello and welcome to another episode of the LendAPI Partner Podcast. Today, my guest is Diarmuid Thoma. He's head of fraud and data strategy at AtData. Welcome to the podcast, Diarmuid.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Now, can you tell me how AtData got started?
Well, the name is relatively new, but the company is not. So the company was founded in 1999. So last year, the 25th anniversary, but by our current CEO, actually, Tom Burke. So it was known then, and most people would know it as Tower Data. So Tower Data was it became one of the largest email validation companies in the world. And it was growing. So in 2022, AtData and Freshadress, another very, very large validation company, merged. And that's when they rebranded then as AtData. So AtData then obviously, then with two of these it come together and being very large. And that's kind of when we started to diversify in terms of the different product lines and had more dedicated fraud offering as well.
Now, what is the number one use case that you solve for at AtData?
For context, right, we do process about 125 billion signals every month globally. So we do so many different use cases. I couldn't even list them all. However, they are grouped into kind of three main ones, and then even one of those is the largest. So it's kind of transactional, things like e-commerce and things like that, account maintenance. But by a considerable margin, the largest single one then is client onboarding. So I group that into things like obviously new account setup, kind of KYC type stuff, but also lending. So anytime you have like a new loan application, effectively that's a new customer coming in. These companies know very little about them, about that person, about their information at that point. Using our email technology and the additional services we offer now, we can do a lot to tell them about that customer, but even before they do anything.
So what exactly do you do with the email address? So how does that work?
So as I mentioned, right, we process 125 billion signals. That equates to about nearly 500 million unique emails every month globally. So you imagine like the Visa kind of credit card network and all the transactions coming in and out and in and out. Well, we're effectively that for emails, right? We don't read the emails or do anything like in terms of the actual emails that are being sent. What we're doing is when those emails are getting used. So if you imagine you use your email, anything online, you use your emails for, right? You create an account to get, if it's Amazon, it's all of that, right? And so we have so many different customers across the world. We are effectively logging all of that. So when we see it, we're seeing it here in this website. So we're looking at the velocity, how much of that email is being used when it first, and quite quickly, when it first became active, and also about the kind of behavioral aspects of it. So is it all coming from a single website? Most of the time it's not. It's, multiple different websites, which is good behavior. Also, more and more lately is what type of email service is it? As in, email for Gmail is dominant, right? You're talking 50-60% of all traffic is Gmail and Yahoo and Hotmail. But then you have a considerable amount of the likes of these disposable domains. More recently, the hyper disposable, and these are different. There's a whole different kettle of fish in terms of, when you can imagine as a company, when a new customer's coming to you using a disposable domain, it's not a sign of confidence or trust, right, in the new customer. So all of this is what we do. And like, I suppose that the real measure in terms of, I can quote big numbers and everybody can quote big numbers, right? But the real measure is when we're processing any client's email. So take a client from North America, for example, 99% of what they'll send us emails, we'll have already seen it. So we'll have information when it became active, all that, not about 99%. But that shows you that, in terms of our coverage and our ability to identify it. And simply because of that makes this an incredibly effective tool for fraud prevention. Right. Before joining AtData, I used to be a customer when I was working at TransUnion, used to be a customer of them and using the data there. It's not an understatement to say it's one of the most correlated in terms of fraud prevention, and its ability to identify quickly and easily is it's hard to beat, let's say.
Well, and luckily it's something that pretty much everyone will give you in any application, right? I think everyone's used to giving their email address whenever you sign up for something.
Certainly in the Western world, we, a little bit different in the likes of India and places where maybe phone is more dominant and things like that. But it's still, you still have a combination of both.
Right. That's very interesting. So you help companies understand what that email that people give them, whether there's risk there, whether there's not risk there, whether you've seen it before. And so that makes them able to make better risk management decisions.
Exactly. And we've even in the last couple of years, we've taken that a step further. I mean, there's been companies doing this largely using our data, but using this for years. I mean, we've been, our data, it was in the fraud space for the past 15 years, giving the wrong data. However, we've kind of come on leaps and bounds in the last, I suppose, 2-3 years, where we now have the environment. So you imagine any company coming into you, their client demographic is unique to them. Even though they might be in the same industry, some may be targeting older generation, some Gen X, whatever their demographic. That reflects in their email profile too.
Right.
So to be truly accurate and truly efficient, we've developed the ability to customize our models for their demographic. So each customer that comes to, we can train the model on their profile, their age demographics, their types of fraud, most importantly, I suppose. And that allows us to get accuracy in terms of AUC, in terms of measurement, is about 90 to 95, even we've even got 99%, which is, for a single data point, is exceptionally high.
It's, very, very, very powerful. Now, can you tell me your favorite customer story?
I was thinking about this, is that, so obviously through the years, I'm in fraud prevention 24 years now, but there's been lots of different interesting ones. But one of the most recent ones was actually around the disposable side of things. So we've developed the product about 2-3 years ago, but we've been constantly adding new features. Constantly. We're planning more this year. But last year we released one of the most exciting ones for us, which was the high risk domain identifier. So it's its own independent model, and so people probably not aware, but there's about 100,000 high-risk new disposable domains created every day.
Right.
Every day. So, and they have thousands of emails on this. So the scale is...
Yeah.
At the moment, it was manual classification, and nobody can keep up with that kind of volume manually. So we developed a model to do it automatically as they came on, instantly doing it. Took a lot of research, a lot of development. The model was, we've tested it and we released it, and it was going great. And I'm in fraud, but I'm a product guy. And as anybody in product or any product person understands, the best part of that is when you deploy it, when you see it going live. And the only thing better than that is seeing it doing what it's meant to do.
Right.
And coincidentally, then, when we released this new feature, we had a new e-commerce platform, quite a large e-commerce platform coming on. And I was aware, they had pretty sizable fraud issues, but specifically one of the issues they had come to us, and the timing couldn't have been better, was with these random domains, nothing like Gmail or Hotmail. These were right. And they could not keep up with it. So I was like, perfect storm kind of scenarios. So it deployed, and boom, every single one, they just new ones coming in, and every single one, it caught them. And that's for me, that's the best scenario. Obviously, the customer's very happy because, they couldn't help it themselves before, and now this model is taking care of it. I have to say, it was about 2 or 3 weeks then there, because they had, you're talking about 30 to 40% fraud rates, attempt rates this company had. And now it's a fraction of that, because it was able to, eventually once you stop blocking, they give up. But yeah, that was one of the best. I think selfishly it was because, that happened to coincide nicely with one of our strongest features. Yeah, I was, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, no, that is a great story, and always glad to see that it works, right? You work hard on it, and then you put it out there, you hope that it works, you think it works, but to actually see it and then see the customer be happy with that must be a great feeling.
It is, yeah. And it does, it is, even for the team, we have some new ones coming out this year around actually positive scoring. So we're you build on that success. You're like, it worked there, so let's do it again, and let's pushing it a bit further and push it further. So yeah, it's good.
Well, let's wrap it up there. Thank you so much, Diarmuid, for being on the episode.
That was fantastic. I was glad to speak.
Great. Well, this was another episode of the LendAPI Partner Podcast. We'll see you next time.